Please rise in body and or spirit. And the turquoise book is 1000. It's Morning Has Come. Please help me sing this morning. Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith and guide you on me home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of His here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning. I'm so glad that it's not snowy and icy out there, so you didn't have to worry about getting in. It looks like the weather kept a few people away today, but I'm sure glad to see all of you guys. So thanks for showing up. And I was thinking about all the times that people come here on Sundays over the years, and how many friendships get born in this place, and how many people meet for the first time, and sometimes partners find each other. And it's just an amazing thing to think about all the connections that are made in this beautiful space and all the wonderful things that come from that afterwards. So this is a place where friendships are born. So I wanted to invite you to just look around and greet those for a second and just think about all the great possibilities there are in life for making new connections, new friendships. So why don't you take a second to greet one another? You never know what's going to happen. Okay. No, I'll take care of it. That's okay. That's great. Thank you all for connecting with each other, and thank you for being here for today's service. I love seeing you here. Let's continue.
Come burdened, come savvy, come aging, come discouraged, come wanting, come full, come longing, come drifting, come. Let us come together as a community and join together in saying our affirmation. Love is our doctrine, compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration. build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the hopes, and serve the needs of our world.
So I apologize, but I feel the need to say a word or two. First of all, I apologize that I'm playing Christmas pieces in February. But look at the title. Is this appropriate? And the second piece will be a harbinger of spring, so that's perfect. The other thing I want to say is this transcription was by a friend, possibly lover of Tchaikovsky, a great pianist of the late 19th century, early 20th century, and he presented the entire Nutcracker Ballet transcribed as a virtuoso piano piece to Tchaikovsky, who loved it. And so he approved of this piano. Then he simplified it so normal people could play it and published it as his own. So this it's kind of an important transcription. So snowflakes, I love the way he starts this thing, just little drops.
absolutely brilliant. I loved it. We pause this morning from the chaos of the world to reclaim the beauty within these walls that carry us through our week. We lift this community onto our shoulders with pride and grace-filled expectations for our children and our children's children. Each week, we light 3 chalices. The first is for this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Salem. We light our second chalice for our partner church in Šimenfalva, Transylvania, Romania. And we light our third chalice for our children and youth in lifespan religious education and in our world at large. Let us sing the flame into life.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glowing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Go ahead, Annie. Yeah. They're working on it.
Okay. Can I please have everyone young and young at heart come up with me? Hi, guys. I'm going to kneel because I'm going to talk to you guys. Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay. So you guys remember, it's February, and our theme for this month is love. And we are going to talk today about things that we love. I brought a couple things. So first, I brought my pointe shoes. You guys, and we didn't plan that, because that was snow scene, and it made me want to put these things on. You guys know what pointe shoes are? Yeah? So did you guys know that I do ballet? Some of you guys know that. Yeah, my children love. So that's one of my favorite things. Another one of my favorite things, I found. There, okay, now I know. I found a picture of my puppy dog. And so this is Petrie, and she is my shadow. That's what I call her. Because she comes to work with me, and she follows me around my house, and we do all kinds of things, and she is usually there. Okay, and I have another favorite thing. But I'm going to tell you guys this, and that is that I'm here talking to you because a few weeks ago, somebody asked me to talk to all the grown-ups out there about things that we do back in the RE room so that they can know how awesome our RE program is. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to tell all of them, I realized I actually wanted to talk to all of you. And so, this is my most important thing. What's that? What's that? No. You guys know who those people are? They're blushing. Oh, and one of them's cheering. So these are my kids. And these are what is absolutely the most important thing to me. And I bet that your guys' parents who are out there would say the same thing. And I bet that any other parents out there that have kids that are older would also say the same thing. And so as I was thinking about what I wanted to say, I thought you guys all needed to hear this because you are all so important and you are all so loved. And it is absolutely important that we support you guys And that is part of why I bring you, my 3 children, to RE. It's because I like it that you guys get to be creative and you get to feel loved and you get to learn about the world and you get to be around other people who also care about you. I feel like these things are all important. And since these kids are like the most important thing to me, I want to make sure that I surround them by other things that I also think are important. And you know, sometimes when kids get older, we turn into these people like me, grown-ups. And it's really easy to forget about the cool things that we learned back in RE, like creativity and curiosity and kindness. And I hope that by bringing you guys here, that those are things that you will remember even when you're big and when you're grown-ups like us. And so those things are important. And you know what's really cool is that when we bring you guys here to RE and more kids start coming because we have a good RE program, then more kids want to come. And who thinks it's more fun when there's more kids at RE? That's what I thought. And you know what? When more kids come to RE, more grown-ups come out there. And you know what that means? There's more people here all around. How cool is that? And then it's just better for everyone. It's win-win. We have more fun in RE, we have more friends in church, and everyone is happy, including me. And hopefully including you. Yes, sir.
Another good thing about more people being there, you might get more money.
You're right, and you know what? That's one of the things that I'm trying to convince these people is that we need to support you guys. And so we can support you guys by bringing you to RE, and we can support you guys by giving money to the church. That's one thing that we're talking about. And so that is something that absolutely I want us to be able to do. And so one thing that is also important to know is that when we don't take care of the things that are important to us, that we love, that they tend to wilt. So my example is a garden. What happens when we don't water the garden? Oh, it starts to wilt and it might even die. And so it's important that we support you guys so that the RE program doesn't wilt and die. That would be bad. We don't want that to happen. So I know that all those grown-ups out there are gonna step up and they're gonna say, yeah, these kids are worth a lot because they're worth so much. They have so many wonderful ideas and they're worth it. And I have this song that actually one of my kids sang a few weeks ago at a special event. And I wrote down the words because I thought that they were really good. And it goes like this, and it says, it's called We Are the Dreamers. Oh, and my person doesn't even know that I was going to read this, but it says, when we stand with eyes wide open, we see things that ought not to be. In a world filled with riches, we see poverty and need. Though there is beauty all around us, there is also suffering and fear, but we can stand with eyes wide open and dream of a better world. We are the dreamers, we see the visions, we see a better day to come. Is it reality or only what could be? We are the dreamers, come share our dream. It takes time to build a dream and it takes patience. It takes time to build a dream and it takes courage. It takes hands to build a dream, many hands to build a dream. We can't do it all alone. Will you join us? We are the dreamers, we are the visions, we see the visions, we see a better day to come. Is it reality or only what could be? We are the dreamers, come share our dream, come stand with us, hand in hand with us, and help us build our dreams, and help us build our dreams. Who is that song about? Who do you think that song's about? Dreamers. Who are the dreamers? Oh, I'm being told I messed up the lyrics. Oops.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay. They're close though, right? Who are the dreamers? Do you know who the dreamers are? kids, you guys. And it says that you guys can't do what you believe in and what is important for all of the world without the grown-ups, because you guys are just kids. And it's our job to help you do the things that you are able to do and are capable of doing. And you guys are wonderful. And so, I know that you guys are our future. I know that you guys have big dreams and big ideas. And I know that you guys are smart. And I want you to know that we all know all of these things and that we all love you. And I think with that, I would love to encourage the congregation to support the RE program and to make the love arch.
Wherever you walk in love. Wherever you walk in peace. Wherever you walk in beauty all around you. Our hearts go with you. Wherever you walk in love. Wherever you walk in peace. Wherever you walk in beauty all around you. Our hearts go with you.
Take a deep breath and just relax into this moment. Our lives are so fast-paced, and it's good to realize that you can slow down. That you can slow down and just collect yourself and be present, so that you might notice people around you. In the grocery store, do you see that woman struggling on her walker? Do you see that young person who seems disaffected? Do you see people who seem concerned and worried? Pay attention. Pay attention, and opportunities will arise naturally for you to bring your compassionate self into this world. You don't have to do it all just in your own realm. Shine the light of compassion so that other people know that you noticed and that you cared. And so it is our path to walk through this life aware of one another, aware of the call to be compassionate, for that is our path. And we remember here to be grateful too. Yesterday in this very room, we said goodbye to a great soul, Lorraine Stewart. She did so much for us, for this congregation, for our community, for the children that she taught for so many years. She lived a life that reminds us of the lives that we're called to live. Lives of service, lives dealing with unexpected things that come in a gracious manner. We remember Lorraine, and we remember ourselves too. We remember our dreams. And we're grateful for those who awakened them, who awakened us to life's great possibilities. Compassion and gratitude are our paths. We have some notes in the book today that I would like to read out to you. Brenna, you're lighting a candle, and your dad is moving here on Tuesday. And that was a piece of cake, wasn't it, getting him here? No, it wasn't. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. The long journey is about over. So, Brenna, we're glad that your dad is finally going to come here. Stephen Winters, he'll be watching from online because he can't be here today. But Stephen Winters and his wife Emma just contracted COVID, and keep them in your thoughts. So we're thinking of you, Stephen, and I hope you're watching today. Louise Myers writes that it was such a joy to be able to attend Lorraine's memorial virtually. It was an honor to know her, and she has embodied our first and sixth principles, which are the inherent worth and dignity and the goal of world community. So she certainly has done that. Thank you, Louise, for reminding us of that. Bob and Leslie Zygon asked us to pray for Chelsea, who was an unborn child and has serious heart defect, and blessings on Nathan and his job search. So we send a lot of good thoughts out to all our relatives and friends who are struggling at this time. If you do have a joy or concern, we always want to know about it, and you can enter it into the book here. There's also something on our website where you can share your joys and concerns, and we will be aware of what's going on. I'm part of the Lifelines lay ministry in the congregation. Lifelines works with me to be aware of all the people in the congregation and all that's going on so that we can be a listening presence, a ministry of presence for you if you're going through a difficult time. So thanks for all the Lifelines people, and thank you all for that part. We light one last candle. Thank you, Brenna. Let's light one last candle. Not every concern was obviously expressed this morning, but we light a candle for you this morning. For you, may you see hope and love in your life. Thank you.
Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
For the longing that told you it was time for a change, we give you our blessings. For the courage it took to answer the call, we give you our blessings. For the choices already made, and for the daily choices that will shape the life ahead of you, we give you our blessings. For the communities that have shown you who you are, and the new communities waiting to discover you in new ventures, we give you blessings. For the great mystery of what lies ahead, we give you our blessings and our love. May you see something of beauty along the way, touch hands with those you love, and give more than you get.
Thank you, Brenna. So a few years ago, I was reading about, how our brains work and everything. I was reading this article, and I was dismayed to learn that according to cognitive scientists, we human beings, we are really nothing more than, as one of them tactlessly put it, we are sophisticated meat machines. Biological automatons. The scientists explained that we have all been seduced by an illusion of free will when in fact everything is predetermined. Imagine all our lives is taking place upon this giant billiard ball table, and all the countless balls, somebody's already hit the cue ball and everything's already in motion. And thus the thought that you or I or anyone can, as an autonomous act of free will, sort of like a disembodied ghost in a machine, that we could interrupt the flow and the direction of any of these balls, that idea is just a predetermined automatic thought, say the scientists, that create the illusion of free will. I'll unpack that idea a little bit more later on, because that's a tough one to think about. In fact, I'm just, according to the scientists, one of the infinite number of balls. I myself have made up of a lot of countless balls in motion, and somehow I have rolled up here to deliver a predetermined message to you. And according to the implacable laws of determinism, you had no choice but to come and listen to me pontificate and then have your predetermined responses. I like that part about you predetermined to come here and you had no choice. Let's see if we can get more people on that one. I like that part. But that's hardcore determinism. It's scientific orthodoxy today. It's especially notable in the growing field of cognitive science that has new tools for looking at how our brains work. And our brain, that thing under your skull right there, is the most complex structure in the entire known universe. So it's something interesting, this brain of ours, how it keeps firing up and going. And cognitive scientists are really interested in seeing how we do and how we have intellectual functioning and all of that. I suppose it was predetermined that I would take offense at being called a sophisticated meat machine. Now I want to fight back a little bit against these scientists calling me a biological automaton. It seems dehumanizing to, if I said, welcome sophisticated meat machines on Sundays, you guys would probably not like that. So it just seemed a little dehumanizing, not to mention that this notion that I have no free will, that I don't really make choices in my life from moment to moment, that seems odd. Doesn't that seem preposterous? Then, too, our free faith, you often hear me call this a free faith tradition, and we have some theological skin in the game, which is predetermined, I'll tell you about in a few moments, but not now. But first, I need to track down a scientist for some clarification. So I track one down and I say, I just chose to come to you, but I could have chosen not to. What do you say about that? Well, responds the scientist, we can appreciate that you believe you have free will. It is a very powerful illusion, and yet what happens when you appear to choose to do something is that you do the predetermined thing because everything's already in motion, but then your mind quickly supplies you with a narrative, a rapid-firing afterthought that tells you that you did this because you chose to, not because it was predetermined, which in fact it was. So according to the scientists, through this use of a micro-firing afterthought, it tricks us into thinking that we make choices, when in fact everything was predetermined. Well, this is strange stuff, isn't it? It's a very unsettling set of ideas to wrap my mind around at first. Just think that we continually deceive ourselves from moment to moment like this. But it's important to know the truth and have some grasp of how deterministic forces actually do shape our lives for good or ill. And indeed, there are powerful psychological deterministic forces at work in our lives, in our minds. And a person is oblivious of this at your peril, because this shapes your life. It does. One of the many reasons you should pay attention to how deterministic forces work is so you can be aware of how others may be manipulating you, and they're getting you to do things that benefit them and not you, like the social media companies. They have lots of money to do research. They have cognitive scientists on the payroll, and they understand how to determine our behaviors. A psychologist, Wendy Wood, she notes that the social media companies have, in fact, learned how to hack into the primitive, unconscious parts of our brains, and so that now billions of people, I think a couple of billion people at least in the world have smartphones. A good chunk of humankind has now been habituated into checking Facebook, TikTok, Instagram on our smartphones multiple times a day. They know how to do this. Before this, for all of human history, such habits were entirely absent. And you have to wonder if these giant companies have our best interests in mind, hacking into our brains like this. And actually, I don't think they care. These are largely amoral corporate entities just doing whatever is possible to maximize their reach and their profit margins. Getting our brains hacked into doing what is not in our best interest is actually a very ancient concern. It's a perennial concern, even if we survive the depredations of the social media age. Indeed, the Buddha recognized that this matter, what goes on in our brains, our thoughts, was so important that he addressed this in the opening lines of his first public discourse, the Dhammapada. It was a sermon, his first sermon to the public. Buddha had great insights. He was a psychologist. I've often heard it said that Jesus was a great poet and Buddha was a great psychologist. I think that oversimplifies it, but Buddha really did study the way the human mind worked. And he looked with great compassion on his listeners and humankind in general. And he could see how our minds got hacked into by habitual mental narratives that take us to unhappy places over and over again. He was speaking of habitual mental narratives that arise in our minds that lead us to revisit again and again our feelings of anger and hatred and anxiety and resentment and greed. It's just like a deterministic thing. It just goes on, and you have these ideas, these thoughts. You think about, that person beat me, I hate him. That person treated me, I'm a victim. That I hate this person. You stew in it. You just stew in it. And the Buddha saw that. And so the opening verses of this ancient but still relevant discourse, it sounds a warning and a promise, and it's thus named the pair. And the Buddha says, and I'm paraphrasing, but I think accurately capturing the sense of things, he says, if you habitually harbor thoughts of ill will and anger and resentment, then just as surely as the ox cart wheel follows the ox pulling it, so will you be pulled into realms of misery and suffering by thinking like this over and over again. If, on the other hand, you cease to habitually harbor such thoughts, if you cease putting more logs on the fires of anger and hate and resentment and greed, the anger, all those things, they burn out, and your natural compassion will manifest. And so by offering such practical wisdom, the Buddha taught people how to avoid the harmful deterministic workings of our own minds. Like a sailor who knows not to raise sails for ill winds that blow toward unhappy mental realms, where you crash upon the rocks of spiritual self-destruction because your fear and hate and anger and resentment has shaped your perceptions and then your character. Modern cognitive behavioral therapists notice the same thing as the Buddha. And they employ similar insights to help clients become aware of the automatic, predetermined negative thoughts they have. Pay attention to those automatically generated negative thoughts. They just come up. And when you pay attention to them, you notice how they're getting generated, and you can just notice it and not get caught up in them. This is proven to be one of the most effective treatments for depression. It's a wonderful thing. The Buddha and other countless wise souls all show how to use the principles of determinism for your benefit, to catch the winds that take you to the seas of joy and compassion. And you do this by supplanting negative patterns of thought with positive habits of heart and mind, by practicing them over and over again. As the poet said, first we make our habits, then they make us. Or, as a sign on an old country road put it, choose your rut carefully. You're going to be in it for a long time. So it really makes a difference which habits, especially mental habits, patterns of thought you choose, because these choices become ruts that determine the course of your happiness in this one precious life you have. Far too many souls raise their sails unwittingly to ill winds and end up wasting away in dungeons of angst and anger. So this leads me to the point where I have to make a confession to you. A few moments ago, I was laying into the social media companies for hacking into your brains. Well, the worship team and the worship team is complicit here, but if blame must be laid upon anyone, lay it upon me. But we have been attempting to hack into your brains, albeit for vastly different purposes than the social media companies. Here's what's been going on. In our worship services, we are actually attempting to hack in to your heart mind, to make compassion and gratitude daily mental and emotional habits of your heart and mind. Imagine if you checked in with your compassion and your gratitude several times a day. As you bring out your smartphone, you check in on it. How about if you just imagine if instead of checking their smartphones so many times a day, what if humankind, wow, what a thought this is. What if humankind supplanted this with checking in, tuning in to the spirit of compassion and gratitude? If you made that your habit, that habit would in turn make you and bless you and make you happy many times over. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. This all assumes that you can make free will choices on where to focus your mind, which path to take. The underlying rationale for Buddhism and for Unitarian Universalists, our free faith tradition is that we can make real choices. If you study the theological family tree of Unitarian Universalism, you'll trace it back, you'll see that we're connected to some heretics in Holland known as the Arminians, who rejected the doctrines of predestination. And so we trace back to this idea that we get to make choices. We get to make choices. And this is the driving notion of our gathering here, this notion that with new and better information, you and I can make better, wiser choices. And that's why I'm here talking about this in a sermon, which I think I used my free will to create. So naturally, I turned to the scientist and I asked, now how could this sermon be predetermined? Didn't I use my free will to write this sermon? And the scientist's response astounds me. He says, your creativity arises from unconscious processes. The thoughts come to you from somewhere beyond your conscious free will. You know what? That's right. That's what happens. Whenever I write a sermon, pretty often, it's my job, but I'll be out on a walk, and a thought will just come to me, and I'll come home and I'll write it down, seemingly out of the blue. This happens all the time. Consider, says the scientist, drawing my attention again, consider how Einstein came up with his theory of relativity. He did not come up with this as a conscious act of free will. This revolutionary theory came to Einstein in a dream he had. He was on a farm, walking through a farm, and he saw some cows by an electric fence who all jumped up at the same time when the fence gave them an electric shock. And somehow, don't ask me to explain Einstein's theory of relativity. I can't do it, and I'm still working on that. But somehow, the symbolism from this dream of the cows being shot, that all made it come together for Einstein, and he got his theory of relativity from this dream. And from that, we got the atomic bomb, the thought of which makes us all jump in shock. But that's the way it happens. So I guess I'm busted here. I don't actually write my own sermons. They're all predetermined. So do with that information what you will. I will ask that you be merciful here and remember all the things you do in your own life for which your free will gets credit but doesn't deserve it. So, honestly, I thought I was writing my sermons. I did. But then the former English major, I remember how one of my favorite poems, Coleridge's Kubla Khan, A Vision and a Dream, a fragment, all this came to him in a dream. He just woke up. Coleridge just woke up, and there was the dream. He didn't have to write it. I love this poem, even though I don't know what the heck it means. But it's a great poem. It's just so evocative, and it begins, you know this poem, you probably studied it, in Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph, the sacred river ran, through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. That's the opening stanza of that poem, and the thought of how this wondrous and mysterious poem, you should read the whole thing, how this poem and all our astonishing human creativity comes from beyond our conscious mind. And that thought now plunges me into the deep seas of measureless mystery. What's going on? What's going on? Maybe it's time to reassess how things actually work in our lives. And I've come to some surprising realizations. Much of what we do in our lives so skillfully and gracefully is because we don't overthink it or overdo it. Our required life skills allow us to not have to fret and worry about every step, every move we make, and excessively focus on exercising our free will. So what happens if you do overthink it or overdo it in your life? Well, if this is an ingrained habit, overthinking it, overdoing it, if it's an ingrained habit, then you have been afflicted with the curse of the toad, which you'll learn about in a second, right now, which causes you to fall prey what the psychologists call the centipede syndrome. So I'm going to read you this little poem. It's all explained in this verse. A centipede was happy quite until a toad in fun said, "Pray, which leg moves after which?" This raised her doubts to such a pitch, she fell exhausted in a ditch, not knowing how to run. And this is the kind of mischief you get into when you have too much of the illusion of free will on your hands. You overdo it, and you overthink it, and you try to over-control it and over-stress about it because you think you have to keep all 100 legs moving in the right way. How do you do that? It's so easy to get dragged into the stressful, paralyzing realms of hyper-reflection. And what's forgotten in such moments of toad-cursed, centipede-ish stress is that you can let go more and trust yourself. Trust in the flow of life. Here I find the wisdom of the Taoist tradition helpful. It says life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. This only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. So, free will is out. Say goodbye to that illusion. Just relax and don't worry, because everything is predetermined and we're just sophisticated meat machines along for the ride. And I want to thank you for coming today. Whoa, hold on a second, says the scientific community. Hold on just a second. Hold on. If word of the predetermined nature of our lives gets out there, then society will enter a dire downward spiral towards passive fatalism. We will all abdicate our responsibilities and have a constant built-in excuse. Imagine a world like this where everybody knows everything is predetermined, and there you are on trial. Your Honor, it's true I robbed the bank, but it's not my fault. It was predetermined. I don't have free will, and the science backs me up. Not guilty, says the judge, again, fatalistically. Nobody is responsible. That's what they're worried about if this idea gets out there. Just imagine never taking responsibility for anything. So the scientists are worried that if the truth gets out there, things could get bad. So please, I would like to ask you to completely forget about this dangerous sermon today. As you leave today, the greeters will be asking you to swear that you have forgotten this sermon so that we can maintain the illusion of free will. But you know what? It strikes me that these are brilliant scientists, they're some of the smartest people in the world. But it strikes me that this is not the whole story by a long shot. Something important, mysterious, sacred seems missing to me. Something yet to be discovered about who we are as individuals and our connection to the cosmic scheme of things. And I believe that as we probe deeper into these mysteries, we're going to discover that we're not less than we imagined. I think we're going to discover that we're more than we imagined. I don't think we're going to discover that we're nothing but sophisticated meat machines. I think we're something else. Consider the sophisticated meat machine thing kind of got to me, I guess. And so I'm wondering whether some of the scientists are being sophisticated meatheads, if they think they have everything figured out. Consider our universe. Just think of how big our Earth is, and then the solar system. Think of how long it takes for a beam of light to go from one star to the next. How vast is our Milky Way? It's got hundreds of millions of suns in it. And our Milky Way is but one of 1 trillion, can you believe it? 1 trillion galaxies in the known universe. It's so unimaginably vast that you cannot wrap your mind around it. 1 trillion galaxies, each of them with hundreds of millions of suns swirling around them. The vastness of the universe is just unbelievably, we can't even wrap our minds around it. And so what does that have to do with us? What does that have to do with us? We're so small and insignificant. Well, I was fascinated to learn recently that scientists in Italy, there was an astrophysicist looking at the big picture and a neurosurgeon looking at the small picture. They compared notes. And they took note of something very mysterious, very intriguing. They say the neuronal cells in the human brain, which is the most complex structure in the known universe, and the cosmic network of galaxies of the entire universe appear to develop and move in a parallel fashion. And that in their totality, each system, our brains and the entire universe, has what scientists call an emergent quality, wherein the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And you know what this means? I sure the heck don't. I don't think anybody knows what this means. I'm just trying to blow your mind. Because mine has been blown. As all of our minds should be blown out of the predictable ruts of thinking about who we are and where we are. There is so much more to discover and experience. So pay attention to your dreams. Who knows what will come to you? Let's dream together now in a period of reflection. Thinking of our lives like the dancing of the galaxies. We swirl through this life. May we learn to trust in our own giftedness as we flow. Not overthinking, not overdoing, but just trusting and expressing our lives as they open themselves to us from moment to moment. Let us bring our hearts and our minds fully into this life, that we might raise our sails to those winds that blow us to the lands of compassion and joy. May it be so.
We support UUCS through our pledges, time, and connections with one another. We support the Salem community through donations to the Marion Polk Food Share, and for the month of February, the Marion Polk Food Share. Marion Polk Food Share's mission is to bring people together to end hunger at its root causes. They distribute nutritious foods for individuals and families to more than 100 local partners, including food pantries and meal sites, and deliver Meals on Wheels to homebound seniors and adults with disabilities. They operate an urban farm and support a network of community gardens that connect people and their food, and mobilize community members to address systemic issues that lead to hunger. Thousands of local volunteers, advocates, and donors bring their mission to life every day. Please send your checks to UUCS or visit the website to donate. Thank you for maintaining the community of UUCS and for helping the wider community of Salem.
Wow, it's hard to do anything following this wonderful topic. And since I suddenly have a chance to talk and say whatever I want without anyone stopping me, it hit home as a 30-year teacher of high school cosmology and astronomy, and now what I feel compelled to do, without any personal choice involved, is to launch into a lecture about the difference between special and general relativity and scale, but But then I was suddenly struck by something which was much more deeply personal and threatening, and that's the frog and the centipede. And I suddenly imagined what my fingers were doing, and I had no comprehension. So now it's deep into the abyss of the ditch. Okay. So this is the tribute to spring. Flowers will come soon.
this out of your way, Lorna.
Am I that short? I am Lorna Youngs. Normally you see me as Lifelines. Here I am talking to you as the chair of the finance team and the interim treasurer. And I am compelled to come here and give you an update on our Tending the Flame campaign for this year's pledge drive. As of Friday, we have raised $73,640, which is 23% of our goal, and approximately 21% of the pledging members have pledged. So we know that there are more of you out there that we have influenced, we hope, to contribute to this year's pledge drive in order to tend the flame and keep this wonderful community alive. Thank you very much. And we're pledging entirely online. So the weekly blast that comes out to you has a little click here, so click there. Or you can go to our website, and under the hot topics, you'll see the pledge drive, and just click there, and it'll give you the information on how you can pledge online. It's very easy. So as I always say, pledge early, pledge often. Thank you.
Let's get edified next Sunday, okay? I'll be glad to see you guys come for our service next week. I have a few announcements I want to make about things coming up. We have a new member class coming up in April. A lot of people have been asking about that, and we want to make sure that you get that on your calendar. It's a path to membership. Is that what we call it, Anna? Path to membership. But if you have never taken a class like this and you've been around for a while and you still want to take it, please do join us. It's a really good class because we get to know one another. That's really an important part of it. And it's going to be it's 4 weeks, April 2nd, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. All the Sundays in April except for Easter, which is April the 9th. So I wanted to tell you about that. I know we got a lot of folks that are wanting to sign up and be part of our community, and we are really happy about that. So we'll be announcing that again and again. Wanted to I have some musical announcements today. This afternoon, Camerata Musica has a free string quartet playing. And what time does Camerata start? I think they start at 2? 2:30. Thank you for knowing that. So anyway, that's good. Next Saturday in this space at 3 o'clock, the Delgani String Quartet, really a world-class ensemble, is going to be here, and they're going to be playing at 3 o'clock. And I have some extra tickets, so that's a good thing. And I'm going to be, if you want a ticket to the Delgani, come talk to me, and I'll make it happen. So that'll be good. And then finally, my son is a composer, as many of you know, and Sprague High School Orchestra is going to be playing some of his music at March the 9th. They found out about him, and they had him come by, and he worked with their orchestra, and he composed some music for them. So that's March the 9th at 7 p.m., Sprague High School, my son's music. So that's great, too. I think that's all the announcements I have. Except Faith Rockenstein would like to tell us about something. What is it? Tell us.
It's going to be so much fun. I, along with several other people, are organizing the 2023, which is actually the first women's retreat after the pandemic, which is going to be very exciting, at Settle Lake Camp. And it's going to be a lot of fun. There are a lot of people that have already said what they would like to do, what they'd like to participate in. But I need to let you know, if you are female or identify as female, you're the only people that can show up. I'm sorry, men, you're going to have to do your own thing. But it's going to be so much fun. And we've extended the deadline of deposit until April the 1st, and then the final payment would be May the 1st. But we want you to come, we want you to have a good time. It's a time when you can just go out and breathe. scream in the woods, do whatever you want to do, participate in activities that are going on. So it's the whole spectrum. But we hope that you'll come, and it's going to be June the 2nd through the 4th. Thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Faith. Got plenty of time to get signed up for that. I think that's all our announcements. So I'll step aside and let Brenna do her part here.
We take the light from our chalice, lighting the social justice lantern as a symbolic reminder of the light and justice that we carry out into the world. As we extinguish the chalices, let us hear these words from Martha Kirby Capo. Our time together is finished, but our work is not done. May our spirits be renewed and our resolve strengthened as we meet the challenges of the week to come. This chalice flame is extinguished until we ignite it again with the spark of our communion.
If you will please rise in body and spirit and open your, I call it a navy blue hymnal, to page 331, Life is the Greatest Gift of All.
Life is the greatest gift of all, the riches on this earth. Life and its creatures, great and small, of high and lowly birth. So treasure it and measure it with deeds of shining worth. Mine is the brightest gift of all, its thought no barrier mars. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its west surmounts all bars. It brings the wind, it chains the storm, it weighs the utmost stars. We are life, its shining gift, the measure of all things. Up from the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings.
Let us join with our community members, guests, family, and friends saying these words together. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come. Blessed be.